I know there's a lot of room for education, and I look forward to trying to educate more people again. And if you don't know, you can go to our site. It's CannabisTalk101.com. Check us out, and you will get some education there. It's more of an education platform. There's a lot of times when
everything's evolving.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times that we're on the air and we're pro-cannabis, and there's a lot of times that we're on the air and we're trying to be not pro-cannabis and just be kind of like open and let people know. So again, if you're out there and you're listening right now, it's 949-650-1015, and feel free to call us up and
question us.
Ask us questions. We've got another 10 minutes here, and we've got a doctor here that could probably ask you any of your questions that you might have. And if you have addictions, certainly call into his show, which is the Recovery Show. When's your show on, Doc?
My show's on Thursday night, tomorrow night, 8 p.m., and every Thursday night, 8 p.m.
right
to 10 p.m. It's a Recovery Show with Dr. Joe and Angelina.
Nice. Well, we
I should come on and talk about my recovery.
Yeah, and we'd love to.
I want to have you guys on, actually. I didn't think I was going to say that coming in, but going out,
here we are.
Who
do we got?
And so I think we've got Robert from Anaheim, California. Robert, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Robert, you're live on KOCI 101.5, Cannabis Talk 101. What's your question?
How we doing, Robert, tonight?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Good, man.
What can we do for you?
I got a question. Let's say that you're all set up. You're using cannabis medically as medicine, and you happen to get a random drug test at work, and they say you're under the influence, and they want to fire you for that. I know there's probably a lot of people out there that have that question. How does that affect? If you're honestly using it as medicine,
I'll tell you right now.
You can get fired.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
There's an absolute disconnect between patients' rights and employment rights and employers' rights. Right now, there's absolutely no protection for a cannabis user if the employer says no. It's treated like any other drug, whether you have a prescription, whether you have a recommendation or not. A lot of that hinges on I would recommend anybody who is a patient and has a job to inquire into their drug policies. A lot of times they have to give you a second chance. They got to put you through rehab, whatever the case may be. Others are it's an automatic firing.
Sure.
It depends if you're in a Department of Transportation job, if you're in a transportation type job. It's tough, right? And right now in California, in any of the statutes coming our way, whether it's the medical, whether it's the Adult Use Act, there is nothing in there to protect the cannabis patient from an employer. In some other states, they actually have protections.
I actually think, Robert, too, that's a great question.
Thank you, Robert.
Heads up, man. That question's awesome. Now, did you have an experience that you had in this case?
I'm not personally, but I work for a very large company, and I've seen some people who haven't been busted, but yet they're inquiring like, hey, I got my card, I'm doing it legit, I'm not smoking pot at lunch, I'm just medicating like I should medicate. But it's a how affect them, and is there anything moving forward? I heard you said that there's nothing so far. But
no, there's nothing.
Nothing.
No, there's nothing moving forward on that front, and all the
employees have no rights.
In all the new
cannabis.
things coming up, there's nothing written into the new laws.
Well, hey, Robert, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it. And make sure
Thanks,
you
Robert.
keep following us, bud. Thank you very
Be
much.
safe.
You know how long cannabis lasts and can be picked up on a drug test?
A while, right?
Like 30 days, right?
If you're over up to 60 days, actually.
Right.
Depends on your body fat content.
For me and my brother, it
how
might
much
be
you
120 days if we actually stop.
It's a problem for us following our patients in treatment centers because we're wondering if they're using while they're in, but typically, as long as the levels are going down.
I'm curious.
Oh, right.
This is
I
kind of
get what you're saying.
And we could check actual levels.
Yeah.
Kind of a personal question, I suppose. But in as far as the usage of someone who uses a lot of medication, cannabis, for a long time, personally, if I've gone overseas and I don't have my medication, I'm not taking it with me, I'm not breaking the law, I have never felt in quite a long time that if I've gone a week without that medication, I personally feel absolutely no side effects, no withdrawal symptoms. So I don't know if...
Me either.
Me either.
Ever.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Ever.
So you're not noticing any
Ever.
insomnia, not hungry. No, really.
It's funny that you asked because I used to be in recording studios and in the music a lot, so we were just surrounded by just smoke and people just consistently using medicating for cannabis, and I got to a point where I was like, I was smoking it, and I thought, I should cool out. I should cool out. And I did. And I thought the same thing. I thought, I'm going to crave this like cigarettes because I was a pack and a half guy a day. I was smoking a pack and a half every day. And then I cold turkeyed, and I didn't cold turkey cigarettes, but I did cannabis, which was silly. I should have done the complete opposite, I think.
There's no craving when you stop. It's you just get those. I can't believe you... For a week, it's usually typically after about 3 days you start having the hunger goes away. They're not, my clients aren't eating, and I see this invariably. That's interesting. I'd love to speak with you after.
Yeah,
the show
but just throw it in there though that
no insomnia.
I would no 99% of your patients though are coming in definitely with other substance abuse issues.
Yeah.
You're right. Like I said, I'm not treating pure cannabis addicts. Yeah.
And to add to that though is that cannabis for them gives them an appetite. Yep. So it's and I know that to be true. And so and through my own experience, again, my father was on opiates, and when he had cancer and on his final days out, and he stopped the opiates and started taking the cannabis, and while he was on opiates, he couldn't eat at all. Yep. And then he started using the cannabis, and he was eating like a champ, and he was moving around, so it was helping him a little bit. And it wasn't a cure-all. I'm not going to sit here and say, it was just the best thing ever for him, but it definitely gave him a better quality of life. And so then that's my experience, right? And that's not everybody's.
Every brain is different. And that's why I haven't seen you guys in my treatment center. Your brains are plastic enough where you can seek other forms of pleasure that can override that.
Sure.
But unfortunately, 8% of the population just can't get away with it.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure.
But I'd love to hear your stories about how you've recovered.
Right. Well, we also think about.
We have one more caller.
One more. Let's run them. We got to be quick.
Quick caller here.
What's his name?
It's Casey.
Hey, Casey, how you doing? You're live on 101.5 KOCI.
Cool. How you doing today?
Good. What's up, Casey? How are we help you?
Cool. Yeah, I was wondering what the zoning regulations for a delivery service were.
The short answer is not one city has a zoning regulation for delivery. Some have them banned. Most of them are banned.
So you've got to be operating in accordance with the Attorney General guidelines, as we said before, so you're protected for felonies, but you are not protected for zoning laws and those types of misdemeanors.
And what city are you from?
Okay, cool.
Casey.
What city are you from?
What is that?
What city are you?
Oh, Oceanside.
Oceanside. Okay. You might want to come down and check out these guys and sit with them sometime, or kind of just follow up on the website, because we might have some information. Sometimes cities' laws are changing, and if they are, we can get you into some education on that.
Thanks for calling in.
Much appreciated.
You got it, buddy.
Enjoy your night. Bye.
A quick reminder, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be in Gardena at the town hall meeting being put on by the California Minority Alliance.
Yes.
Blue will be hosting.
Yes.
My brother and I will be on the panel along with other speakers.
That's true.
You can check out our Instagrams for the locations and all that stuff. Come on out and support, and get out to those city council hearing meetings wherever you are and support cannabis.
And there it is. Doctor, we want to thank you for coming on the show again.
Absolute pleasure.
Tell us where when your show is.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure being here, and a really interesting experience. I'd like to offer you a spot on my show.
Absolutely.
We're there.
I'd gladly take that.
I'd be honored. And it's nice to see such open-minded, such intelligent viewpoints on cannabis. Anyway, the Recovery Show with Dr. Joe and Angelina every Thursday night on KOCI, this radio station, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Nice.
And we're pretty open-minded view on recovery and medications used to treat it and topics surrounding it.
Awesome. Now, you guys have a website?
We have a Facebook website.
Where's that?
It's the Recovery Show with Dr. Joe and Angelina. Our shows are archived on SoundCloud.
Okay.
In podcast form. You just go to SoundCloud / The Recovery Show with Dr. Joe and Angelina, one word. And we're 34 shows deep already.
Wow, it's a pleasure.
You also have the Hotel California website.
Yes, and I'm also the medical director there at Hotel California by the Sea.com.
Sure.
And if you're having any issues, also DeSantoClinics.com. That's my personal clinic.
Wonderful.
Sure.
I can offer you, again, I do free consultations.
There it is.
Oh, that's great. We love
Yeah,
free
thanks, guys.
consultations.
And
And
again,
don't forget 855 WAS Law for your free consultations for anything you need in the legal cannabis
Remember
world.
to always
Reach.
check on 101 CannabisTalk101.com.
There it is, guys. 101.5 KOCI Cannabis Talk 101. And please join us next week. Bye.
Stay safe.